And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. Of course, after a couple of days off, we're back here live in living color and, of course, out there in podcast or radio world and at hightidecountry.net, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com and presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey. And, of course, Honky Tonk Texas, a fantastic album to talk about today. And, of course, my featured artist of the day as we're closer to Friday as Colby Acuff joins us here on the program. Colby, what's going on, man?
Hey, how we doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, doing just really well. Like I said, trying to get this to fall temperatures. We hadn't gotten there yet here in Texas, but I sense in the next week or two, we're seeing the weather pattern change a little bit to get to some cooler temperatures for you guys too, and of course up around Nashville because I want to say goodbye to this heat. That's what I want to do first.
It's been brutal all summer, man. It's hard. I mean, I'm from 2 hours south of the Canadian border originally, and I'm used to 9 months of snow and cold. And moving to the south and touring a lot in the south this summer was pretty brutal for a ginger northern boy.
I can only imagine. Well, tell me about this before we get into the album, which is Western White Pines across all the digital platforms, which is, again, fantastic country music. Just came out here September the 15th. So, of course, last week on Friday when that came out. Tell us all about you at the beginning a little bit with your style of country, growing up, what you're listening to, and, of course, family. Was family very kind of paramount for you to take on this career?
Yes, no. I mean, we'll start in the beginning, I guess. I mean, so while I know that I am related to Roy now, I didn't know that for the majority of my life. And yeah, of course, I mean, like Acuff's a good last name to go into country music, but it's, I have no connection with that side of the family. My dad's side of the family, those Acuffs, I mean, we've been in Idaho. I'm a 4th generation born, 5th generation in state. So we've been out there for a long time. We didn't know for a very long time, kind of just assumed not because it's so much space. But, when I found out that I was related to Roy, we're like 6th cousins or something. I mean, it's pretty removed, but, yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think my style of country music is I try to represent, like Western music for sure, but not, especially like coming out of Texas, like the Western cowboy stuff, we do some of that, but I'm from a lumber town and a mill town and I'm from the mountains basically. And there's cattle and stuff up there, but there's a whole nother side to country. I feel like that doesn't get talked a lot about. And that it's up in there, like for the miners and, all the loggers and stuff. And I feel like that's the part of it that I'm trying to represent with this record.
Yeah, doing a very good job of it too. Growing up, as far as those great legends and people that paved the way now for the artists of today, talk about just kind of growing up. I was mentioning to you, one of my favorite stations to just browse through when I'm on a long road trip is Sirius XM 58 and Prime Country to hear all that great country music back from the late 80s to early 90s to even mid 90s. Was that your era where you kind of growing up with that music to kind of, and it seems like some of it's displayed on this record too, the sound, at least my ear hears that.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of what, what I grew up on, especially I grew up on a lot of my dad's vinyls. And my dad was really big into Hank Williams Sr., even Hank Jr., the outlaw movement, with Waylon and Willie. And we spun a ton of bluegrass. I mean, a lot of old Flat and Scruggs, newer Ricky Skaggs, Tony Rice. But I was always in country. And my dad also listened to a lot of 50s and 60s rock and roll. So I listened to a lot of Chuck Berry and Fats Domino and a lot of those guys. And then my mom, she listened to a lot of the Eagles, even Elton John is a huge inspiration for me when it comes to melody writing and stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of influences all over, but for sure those early vinyl records that my dad would spin when I was a kid, I mean, that's the stuff that I really grew up on. And George Jones as well is one of my favorites.
Yeah, no doubt. The loving from Beaumont, Texas, down here where I'm at too, just the proud guy of Beaumont, Texas, the legend himself too. It's crazy. And to think about it, even the last, 5-7 years, the movement kind of with all the streaming and stuff going on too. But I feel like in talking to a bunch of the up and comers now, the artists who are in the industry like yourself doing what they're doing, there's a little bit of a comeback now, kind of showing some appreciation to that particular era of artists. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's starting to make a little bit of a comeback and people are kind of craving that sound again?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I really do, because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be here.
True. Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was a long time where I didn't think that, and I think a lot of people felt this way. You know, at the time I was 19 years old playing in a bar cover band while I was going to college. And I'd been playing in a bar cover band since I was 15 years old. I mean, no shit. I've been in a band a long, long time. And I just didn't think that anybody wanted to hear it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, of course, you know, go to a bar, they have on that music, but I didn't think that, I mean, how was a kid from Northern Idaho going to get enough, you know, gumption to try to, you know, make it swing? And, you know, streaming platforms and stuff. I mean, I remember the very first thing that happened to me was for I believe it was my 21st or probably my 22nd birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, somewhere in there. Maybe I was 21. My girlfriend, anyway, she got me tickets to go see Tyler Childers.
Oh, yeah.
In Spokane, Washington. And we went to that show, and I just remember being like, holy shit. I mean, I could do this. I mean, we could do this. This is it's happening. And I better get on now. So that's kind of where the journey started, especially for me to see like, oh yeah, no, there's a movement. And I've been around the movement, I feel like, you know, since that moment started. And it's just so cool to watch it happen, you know, kind of in front of you. There's a lot of even guys that, you know, are younger than me now that are coming out on the scene that are absolutely crushing it. So it's good to see.
Yeah, I love it too. And I saw somewhere that you have some, of course, tour dates, and everybody can look out there on your social media for the posters and things that you guys are putting out there. But did I read somewhere where you're going on or had been on a spot in a lineup with Luke Combs? Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty unbelievable. I mean, Luke, we were lucky enough to have Luke invite us out for 13 stadium shows next year with him, the entire tour from April to August. We'll be starting off the stadium shows on Saturday. So, yeah, along with, you know, obviously a bunch of other shows. I'm sure we'll be playing plenty of gigs next year. But yeah, that's kind of that was the first thing we booked for 2024. So,
well, I tell you what, I got a little proposition for you because I love Western White Pines so much. I've got to come to a Colby Acuff show in 2024. If you're near Texas, can I be your guest?
Oh yeah, I would love that.
I need to come out there and shoot video and the whole 9 yards and go like do my whole podcast out there.
Dude, I'd love to. I mean, we actually are with Luke. We're going to play San Antonio and Houston next year.
All right.
So we'll be around Texas quite a bit. So we'd love to have you out.
I'd love to be there, like I said, and it's this album that really gets me going and love it, from the title track that sets the tone for the record all the way down to the songs that are there, which are just fantastic. 16 great songs that came out last Friday. Western White Pines Deluxe out there too. Make sure you guys go download and check it out if you've not already. I got to take a time out. We're going to come back and dive into a few of these songs and talk about the writing behind them too as well, and why Colby decided to put those on this particular fantastic record out there called Western White Pines. Word from our friends at Bangtail Whiskey, and of course over there at Honky Tonk Texas coming back. It is the Backstage Pass live at the sportsguyspodcast.com, and of course out there on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and at hightidecountry.net, the internet station up in Oklahoma too as well. Quick timeout, coming back.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. Back here on the show again. Our guest today, Colby Acuff, here talking a little country music and, of course, a lot of Western White Pines, the current album out there right now for Colby and the camp, of course. Great country music out there, brings you back to the old days. Again, presented by Bangtail Whiskey and our friends over at Honky Tonk Texas, too, as well. So let's dive into it. The title track there, Colby, again, I said it before the break, that really sets the tone for the record. And this takes me back to camping outdoors, and just what the song says, my mind is somewhere else compared to where it is, where I wanted to be in the first place, but I want to go to this other area. For you, this is great writing, great song, and really sets the tone for this album. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, this song was such a gift. I mean, honestly, we cut 16 songs. It was the last song written before we cut the record. So we had 14 songs written. And I wrote the 16th song after we cut the record and had to like backtrack and go cut it to put it on. But this was the last one kind of that we did. And it was a write with a good buddy of mine, Aaron Ratier. And he said, "Hey, man, do you mind if my buddy Lucas joins?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, man. You know, that's cool." And I get to his house and like, "Aaron, who's this Lucas guy?" He's like, "Oh, it's Lucas Nelson." And I was like, "Oh, really?" So, and it was Lucas's idea, honestly.
Mhm.
We were looking, I just was like, man, we just need one more song for this record. And, most of the songs had all been written by me. And so it's always, we had, of the few co-writes that we had on the record, it was all real high caliber writers, especially, in my personal opinion, some of the best writers in the nation. And Lucas was like, well, Western White Pine, that's the state tree of Idaho. Like, what do you think of Idaho? And then it kind of hit me like, man, when I go back home, it's the last time I'm going back home before I move to Nashville. And it just like all the emotions came in, and the songs, and that's why we decided to make it the title track, is because the entire album is all the little things that I subconsciously was writing about, all these little things that I was going to miss, or the small nuances of where I was from. And really just, man, I can listen to my own record and it takes me back to a lot of stuff. Like it's a piece of me. And so I really, that song is, like I said, it's such a gift. I love that song. And I really hope other people find enjoyment in it,
Definitely tells the story. That's what country music is all about too. And later on down there, several more I'm gonna focus on, which I loved, which was another one, Hard Living Life. Tell us all about this one.
Yeah. So Hard Living Life, it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like an ode to like a Jamie Johnson tune almost. It's just a little harder. But it's about being on the road. It's about, really, you got to dig in, and the life is completely consuming. And, whether the show is good or whether it's bad or whether it's raining or whether it's sunshine or whether there's a tornado or whatever the hell it is, I've been living pretty hard, but it's a hard living life. You just gotta keep going. And I think it's just truly a song about me and the band and being on the road and our hot pursuit, that is chasing the dream.
Right there kind of with it too, tells a different story too, but it kind of along the same lines of just real country music too. And Moving was down the record, I believe song 12 that was down there on it too. Tell us all about this one. Great writing in the song Moving.
Thank you. Yeah, Moving, Ben Chapman and I and a guy named Ben Roberts wrote this one. And I think when we originally wrote it, it was like, oh, well, let's write, easy on the ears, great melody. But let's make it a little bit, like if you actually sat down and were like, okay, I'm going to listen to these lyrics, you're going to find it's actually pretty sad. But the song to me now means so much more. It's a song that is like, you don't realize it, but my name is on the thing. The brand is Colby Acuff, but it takes a lot of people to make it happen. And my entire band moved from Idaho to Nashville to chase this dream with me. My girlfriend moved. I had to leave my family. She had to leave her family. People moved their family down here. So the song is actually really deep and means a lot to me. What it means is, we're all moving. We're moving to chase the dream. It's not, it's you and me and the dog makes three, but it's that metaphor is for everybody, and how much I appreciate everybody, sacrificing so much to do this.
Yeah, and another good one. I love that. And I tell you, man, this takes me back to like being a kid. My God, so many memories and so many things cross my mind. And what I'm going for here is Boy and a Bird Dog. Because I'm going to tell you the story with this one too. Because for me, it was hunting, it was fishing, it was outdoors, it was my grandpa, it was those things. And it was like and I forget what breed the dog was. And like I said, I'm sure it's dog heaven now too. But if I could bring him back, I would. One of the best dogs I ever had at 11, 12 years old. Go outside, take the BB gun and just pop it and just scare away squirrels and shoot whatever I could do to play around with it, because we lived in the country, we grew up on it. But that one too, that is got for every country fan out there. If that doesn't hit home, I don't know what will, right?
Yeah. That song, it's one of my favorites. It's it is the song comes from tragedy though. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
had a bird dog. I bought her when I was 14, and I hunted a lot. I mean, I hunted and fished my entire life. I duck hunted 40, 50 days a year, and I fished around 100 days a year as my entire life. Before I did music full time, I was a fly fishing guide for 3 years. I mean, it's my entire life. And when my dog died, I really wanted to write a song for her, but I couldn't write a sad song. I mean, it's the saddest day of my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just couldn't. I wouldn't be able to perform it if it was like super sad. And so I decided, you know what? Let's focus on the good times. And I brought it to Ben Chapman and Meg McCree, and man, it just, they really understood. They're both from well, she's from Virginia and Ben's from North Georgia, and they just really they understood what the MO was, what the assignment was, and we man, yeah, it's all about the good times, the building relationships of you and a dog, which in my opinion, I mean, those are the parts that make the relationship really special.
Yeah, and I just remembered it was a border collie. I called it Spook. It had black and white colors, and when you talk about these things, it's amazing what comes back to you too as well. Another one on there too, man. A great story. I just felt like I was like, man, this is from a former program director at radio stations down here in Texas, where I worked my first part of my life before I began my second career. Cherokee Rose, dude, what a smash! Top 10 hit. Is this being pushed to radio? If not, it should be.
I mean, not as of right now, but I mean,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, for us, it's. I mean, we could take it, I guess, wherever we wanted to. I think it's a really strong song, man, and I think it's brutally honest, and that's what I love about it. There's a lot of really cool metaphors in it, but the parts that are literal, just tear you apart, man. Yeah, I'm so proud of that song, and I mean, honestly, to be fair, I'm proud of this entire record, man. I love this album.
Yeah, you've done some really cool things, and then we'll get back to the album here, but I got to get to a couple more. I'll take a quick time out. I want to talk about a couple off of Honky Tonk Heaven, which came out last year from you guys. I really enjoyed listening to that one too as well. I mean, High, Wide, and Handsome, and of course, on the title track itself, and Bad Day to Be a Beer. We got a lot to talk about and some ground to cover here with Colby Acuff. It is the Backstage Pass, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com, and of course their friends over there at hightidecountry.net. A word from Bangtail Whiskey. Hang tight.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the sportsguyspodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here on the show, hightidecountry.net, and of course the sportsguyspodcast.com. Anywhere you find podcasts, you'll find the Backstage Pass. Tomorrow, good friend Mira Godo is going to come by, great California country artist too as well. Looking forward to having her back to talk about new music. And of course, next week, full slate of shows next week. Stay tuned for more out there at the social media out there. Back here with Colby Acuff on the Backstage Pass. I got to go back to Honky Tonk Heaven, the title track there. Tell us all about another great album. We're going to get back, of course, to the new one, Western White Pines. But, man, I'm going to start – I guess we'll start with the title track too, but I'm going to throw a curveball here. I loved it. Bad Day to Be a Beer. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah, man. No, I mean, the whole concept behind Honky Tonk Heaven as a record was I wanted to do a record that really showed off just like live band, live sound, take the, do the whole thing and do like a honky tonk record. And I kind of knew that when we cut it and like we were planning on it, I didn't expect it to be the biggest home run as a record for us. But I knew that all the songs, if we needed to get a rowdy song in, we could pull something from this. And I really wanted to do a honky tonk record. I've wanted to do it my entire life. And we actually cut it down at Sonic Ranch in El Paso.
Okay.
And man, but yeah, Bad Day to Be a Beer. It's a classic tale of the times. Yeah, I mean, that's a fun one to play live. It's a fun one to listen to. Yeah, I love it.
I love it too. And off that too, another one I'm going to get to High, Wide, and Handsome, which is another great country song there too. What were you guys? I mean, putting that one out there too, just a fun song and just something that fans can really dance to. That's the one you can get out on the dance floor to enjoy yourself, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, High, Wide, and Handsome, man. That's there's a guy who sells flooring in my hometown, and he goes by HWH, man. I mean, I've known him my entire life. High, Wide, and Handsome, and he's a character. He's a funny guy, and I decided to take a little bit of him and embellish the story a little bit and write a tune about it.
I love that too, man. I'm gonna take a little step back further from another record you guys had put out too, because I've listened to a lot of your stuff you put out there, man. I love it. If I Were the Devil, now this one definitely real country music again, because I love it out there too. But you got so many different things. We could talk about this one, but I'll let it come from your kind of perspective too. What another great title track to set the tone for another great record, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, If I Were the Devil, we owe a lot of our success to that tune and that record, man. And we cut that in my friend's basement in Boise, Idaho. He was a producer, but he was kind of just getting started. And he's like, yeah, you can come in my basement and cut this record. And I just remember thinking, like, man, if like this got 1 million streams career, it would be insane, and it just took off like wildfire. And but yeah, man, I mean, I think that song is a great testament to the fact that people are they need something. They need something real to listen to,
Yeah, and I'll tell you another one off that record too that you really told a great story. And this brings me a little bit to like one of my good buddies down here in Texas. I love his writing. He works a lot with I can't remember the writer's name right offhand. It'll hit me in a second. But the artist is Josh Ward, and I love Josh's music so much down here in Texas. I've seen him play live a lot, and I'll think of that writer. He works a lot. Wyatt McCubbin. Wyatt McCubbin does a lot of great writing that I've listened to, and really works with Josh on writing a lot of songs. This song really brought me back to just like, man, this is very well story told off that record. Dear Country Music. Let's dive into this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was Dear Country Music is written by, me, but 3 years ago. So he was a lot more pissed off. He was new and young, and and one thing I love about If I Were the Devil as a record is it is, looking at it now, it is so perfectly naive and so perfectly, it's just true. It's like when you talk to a child and they're just brutally honest. Not that I hold back anything in my writing, but that was a time, if I had, that was a time to say those things in my life.
Sure.
And Dear Country Music, I stand by it. But the thing I love about Dear Country Music now is it feels like that song has been listened to.
True.
It feels like Dear Country Music, not the song itself, but that message I was sending out into the world has been answered, which is my favorite part about that song. And it's definitely my favorite part about playing that song now. But yeah, I mean, it's a tale of a kid trying to make it in Idaho who's just pissed off at the industry.
And look back at it now, story well told. And now with this album, Western White Pines doing what you love to do out there too, and really just some amazing songs. And like I said, I could go on and on with the record and the songs all day, which is fantastic because I love listening to everything you've put out there. And like I said, it's just real down to earth, real home country music out there too. But hey, I got a little fun with you here to wrap it up and do a little thing I like to do, rapid fire. So I throw out a series of funny questions, and no right or wrong answers. You just never know what you're going to get. All right. Do you remember the song that you sang on stage for the first time, whether it be a cover or something that was out there just in country music that you sang first time ever on stage? What was it?
Yeah. First time ever with a live band. I was 13 years old at the Circle Inn in Billings, Montana. It's not even there anymore. And I sang Folsom Prison Blues.
There you go. The great. That's one of the best of all time. One of the best hits there. All right. For fun, do you still kind of get outdoors? What do you like to do? With it still hunting and fishing, or is music kind of taking up a lot of the time?
I mean, when I was fishing consumed me. I only fished when I was a guide, and it's no different than now that I do music. Music has completely consumed my life, but I still get out every now and then. I mean, I fish as much as I can, and I get on a hunt, a couple times a year. That's, probably the best I can do right now. But probably I try to get out 15 to 25 times a year total.
You mentioned something that caught my attention too, because the fly fishing. I'll tell you this. Congrats to you guys for being a guide, because I went up took the wife up to, was it Montana? Somewhere up in Montana, we were up there, and we were looking for something to do. I pulled off, and I saw the sign from the highway, and I said, "Look, I got to do a little fly fishing of my own, so let's do this." So I pulled off. I'd never done this in my life, and took the little quick course, and they took us out to the the river out there too, flowing through. I mean, beautiful White Rapids, everything out there. And like of the team of 7 or 8 people that took the little kind of crash course with it, I was the only one to like catch. And it's quick. Was there? I mean, for you guys, there's an art and a craft to like everything you do out there, whether it be music or whatever someone's doing. But I loved my time in Montana doing fly fishing, and I want to do it again. Was there kind of a secret to it? Because some people were saying like we couldn't catch anything. I said you got to be fast. I mean, as soon as they get on there, you got to get out there and do it. Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, it's like golf. I explain fly fishing. It's like golf. But the only difference is, well, let's get rid of that. I mean, I can talk a lot about fly fishing. I'm going to try not to. So,
okay.
But what I would say is, just because I'll get going, and I don't want to, go off on a huge tangent. But what I would say is, fly fishing is tough because it's you trying to fool a living thing. So if that living thing is like, I want to eat all day, and you have the right fly on, and you get a lot of opportunity, then it's easy. But if it's not, and if they don't want to eat and they're being picky, then it's really, really hard. And just like golf, if you get frustrated, your cast usually falls apart and then you can't do anything else, and then it kind of devolves from there. So I don't know. I always just say fly fishing is fun, and it's the thing that it's supposed to teach you is patience and observation. If you can learn those 2 things, then you're fly fishing.
That's probably why I was the only one to catch up there. The little, like I said, I think it was a perch or something out there, but it took about an hour to get there. But try to be fast. They jump off. You're right. If they're going to eat, they're going to eat. If they're not, then hey, it's still fun to be out there and enjoy the outdoors. And I love everything up there through the Rockies, and of course up there through Montana, Idaho, just beautiful. I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and Yellowstone. We did the whole. It was just magical area that I love up there too. All right, favorite restaurants in Nashville. What does Colby like to eat when in town?
Oh, this is cool. I like this one. Okay, so I would say my favorite restaurant in Nashville. I know my favorite bar in Nashville. I like going to Duke's in East. That's like our little spot that we go to. They got great sandwiches there too, so it might kind of double as my favorite bar / favorite sandwich spot. Man, I love like Pharmacy Burger and Mas Tacos. Emmy Squared makes great pizza. I don't know, man. I mean, I love to eat. I mean, look at me. I like to eat.
With you. All right, last set of shows you got to binge watch. What'd you get into? What series?
Oh boy, the last show I binge watched.
Yeah, or just movie or anything, stream something or.
God, I'm a huge film buff. I love cinema, man. Okay. I think the last movie though, actually, I mean, I just said this, but I'm gonna immediately get strucken down for this. But the other night, I just for the very first time watched 2001: Space Odyssey.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, for coming out in 1967, it's amazing how well that movie holds up. I mean, but I will say, I think if I had to watch one last movie, I'm a sucker for animated films, and I grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s. So one of my favorite movies of all time is the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I can't lie.
You can't beat that. I mean, that's a classic out there too, no doubt, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon too. It's fantastic country music out there. I'll say it again. Western White Pines. The album came out last week, the 15th of September. Make sure you guys go stream and download, get those counts up to it. A lot of these songs, if not already, I guarantee you these are top 10 hits on radio, and authentic country music will take you back to storytelling from the 80s to the 90s to early 2000s era of country music out there too. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for spending some time with us. And brother, I look forward to catching you on the road 2024 out there with Luke Combs. And I mean, definitely great success coming your way, and more as continued success gets into the new year, and best of luck moving forward. Thanks for being with us. Hey, thank you so much for having us on. I appreciate y'all. You got it. Colby Acuff here on the Backstage Pass. Thanks to our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey, and, of course, out there at honkytonktexas.us. You can check out the website for the latest shows out there, too. We're back tomorrow with Miragoto. Until then, have a great night from all of us here at the Backstage Pass, and stay tuned for a lot more.